Hello everyone, we're here today with Dr. Roman Töppel, and he's a leading German military historian. And a few years ago there was this book published by Norbert Ohler, Der totale Rausch, and I think in English it's called Blitz, about the use of Pervitin, this amphetamine, in the Wehrmacht. And well, I made already a video on this, but you are way more knowledgeable in this area than I am. And so let's tackle this a bit further. So he claims, from what I remember, that Pervitin use was a major factor during especially the Battle of France. And that there was extensive drug use, and I think in an interview on BBC he even claimed that the German military changed to a certain degree the war due to this, or the future of drugs in military affairs. So what is your general take on this?
Well, I mean, it's perfect PR. I should have come up with this, because then my book would be sold in 20 different languages.
Oh.
But yeah,
a lot of myth busting.
Ola's book is really, I think, 20 languages now. But it's I did a bit of research, because I was asked 2 years ago for the French television. They wanted to make a TV show about this, or a documentary, and I read other stuff about this, and I came to the conclusion this is so exaggerated. It is Pervitin was known, and Pervitin was given to the troops, not to all troops, but many who had to act like like drivers, tank drivers who had to drive through the night. That was, I also talked to World War II veterans. They said, okay, yeah, we had Pervitin in case we had to drive during the night and you shouldn't fall asleep. But the quantities were not that you could be on crack all the time. And Ola quotes that, he says the 1st Panzer Division got 15,000 pills, but there were 10,000 soldiers, so they could use 1.5, and then that's it. And many soldiers I have talked to, I have interviewed many soldiers I have even known for years. They knew me very well. They told me really wouldn't have lied to me as far as I can, as far as I can see this. And I asked him, I said, no, honestly, I have never heard about this. I have heard about Pervitin because of this discussion that is now coming up, but I have never seen Pervitin. 2 or 3 said, yeah, we had Pervitin, but just in case, if we had to stay awake and we had to stay alert. And another thing is that if you read Ola's book, you got the impression that the Germans, and especially the Wehrmacht soldiers, were permanently under the influence of Pervitin. But when you, even in combat, especially in combat, but when you read that what they say, what is the Beipackzettel, what the instructions how to use Pervitin, and they say expressively, you don't use this during combat, because during combat you have enough adrenaline to keep you awake. This is just in case you have to avoid falling asleep, like during the night, a tank driver who has to in the Ardennes 1940, and you shouldn't fall asleep, and that for this purpose they used it. But it is a myth. It would be a myth to think that the Nazis were on crack all the time. Yeah, this is complete nonsense. This is just so over exaggerated, but it sells.
I mean, the other point is drugs usually have a negative by-effect that afterwards you're more exhausted and everything else. And I think the studies that were done, Steinkamp wrote about this, that they had official trials or something, but in some cases people died.
Yeah.
And so you don't want your soldiers to overdose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other effect is which some people is, if it was available in civilian use pre-war.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and again, there are many factors to play. If you just give someone a super drug, and you don't have them properly trained, you don't have discipline, you don't have the equipment, you don't have the command and leadership capabilities, and everything around this, not much happens. It's just a person on drugs or a group of people on drugs. So Pervitin had a certain influence, but how much, the question is, and also to a certain degree they stopped using it later on, I think due to the side effects. Yeah. And I mean, in Steinkamp he also mentions like that they quite often used it for drinking. So to stay to stay to be able to drink more, to party more.
Okay.
And I think he even quoted the physicians that they actually did this. So there was a lot of abuse happening also on this level. So yeah.
And there is an interesting thing. Even Ola quotes it himself, but he doesn't draw any conclusions. He quotes Steinhoff, Johannes Steinhoff, famous German fighter pilot. He was Commodore at that time, wing leader, and he said he was the first time he had this in his emergency pack, and he saw a Pervitin. He didn't know what it is, and he took 2 or 3 of them, and then it got all went like he was like am I dreaming now? And saw stars and colors and everything. And he came down, and the physician said, "What have you done? How many?" And immediately lay down, and we have to do something about it. And he said he got so sick from this, he never used it again, and that's it. And you see, he was lieutenant colonel at that time. He was wing commander, and he writes that he never had heard about this Pervitin, and this was the first time he came across it. So how should the ordinary German soldier know about Pervitin? And if they had used it all the time, it would have been well.
Yeah, I think it was. Wasn't used more for the logistical units to a certain degree or something. I read some. I think was it Blitzkrieg Legende or something where a certain amount was there. So
yeah.
But the widespread use doesn't make sense. Especially I think I heard the claim that. Wasn't maybe Ola or somebody made the claim that Luftwaffe pilots that were shot down and had it on, but then the RAF introduced it as well, or something similar. Oh no, I think this was a YouTube comment or something. So it's always a bit shady what was going on. And what do you think about the general claim, like that the Wehrmacht were the first, like they put the soldiers on drugs?
Oh, I have to admit, I didn't do any studies about this, but no, this is a question I can't answer. I don't know if any other army. I know that other armies implemented drugs during World War II, the Americans too, but I don't know if the Wehrmacht were first or if other armies. That I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, for me, it's generally drugs. I mean, it depends what you see as drugs, because alcohol and cigarettes are also drugs, and they were used quite often. I mean, I think the cigarette was basically introduced during the Crimean War, the one in the 19th century, not the Korean War, because last time I said this, everyone heard Crimean War with the Russians down there at the peninsula. So, and there are, I think, various other notions that it came up. So I found the various claims that Ola made, like, extremely exaggerated, basically clickbait on the lowest or highest level. I'm not entirely sure what's correct here.
Yeah. No, it's sad that so many people fall for this, and then you have 2 years and it spreads around the world, and you need 2 decades to get it out of the heads again. And this is a shame. This is what bothers me, because no, it's not true. Even what he writes about Hitler's own drug abuse. No, we know about all of Hitler's diseases because there is already a book, a well-researched book about was Hitler ill, and this is really good, because it is there are 2 guys who wrote this. One is an historian, the other is a medic, and so this is really well-researched, and so we know what his physicians' syringes were filled with. And Ola comes up, ignores this book completely, or apparently even maybe it's in his list of literature, but hello, don't you know this? And he comes up with this, but apparently people want to have great headlines, and the more dramatic and the more absurd it is, the more people buy it, and that's a pity, actually.
People like this dramatic and sometimes simple narratives. It was all about drugs, because I recently sometimes get these quotes like, okay, it was all because you were all on drugs or something. It's like, well, no, drugs alone don't work that well. You can't beat France in 6 weeks if you're just on drugs. I mean, you can try it. Do a self-study, medicate all over and see how you can do it in 6 weeks, especially being 6 weeks on drugs or something. And he also claimed, I think, that it's completely understudied or something. And there were books and everything about it. I mean, Steinkamp did this one article and another aspect. So, So,
and I studied, apart from this, I studied a lot of Wehrmacht files and war diaries and stuff. And Pervitin, if it had been such a big matter, that it would appear, and it would, but I never stumbled over it. That they say something about we have our troops need more. We have not sufficient Pervitin or stuff. It is not the big issue. Yeah? Ola made it a big issue.
So, as you can see, sometimes we don't have to battle only old myths that Guderian put in the world. Sometimes we also have to battle new myths because some people think they found something or I want to sell something. I'm not sure entirely if he believes what he wrote. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
And see you next time. Bye.
Bye.